Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Dino Confalone. I'm 2021 GBAR President and a Realtor with Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. Today is a GBAR conversation with an industry expert. And I'm proud to announce that we have Austin Perez, a Senior Policy Representative for Insurance with the National Association of REALTORS. Austin, flood insurance is in the news. It's all over the place. Can you tell me a little bit about where we stand?
Great. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for the opportunity here. So National Flood Insurance Program, Congress has to reauthorize it in order to keep issuing flood insurance. So Congress just recently extended that authorization through February of 18th of next year. So we continue to work on a longer-term reauthorization and reform legislation, but in the meantime, at least the program's been extended, so your clients, your members will continue to have flood insurance at the closing table in the meantime. Also, Congress is working on a longer-term bill. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, this is the agency that runs the National Flood Insurance Program, is undergoing a series of reforms and modernization initiatives, including updating their insurance pricing, known as Risk Rating 2.0.
So the role that NAR is playing in these updates, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, we've been very involved talking with members of Congress, making sure that they understand the priorities, the members' priorities, the priorities of homeowners. So that's an ongoing effort. More specifically with Risk Rating 2.0, this was actually an outgrowth, a product of a number of member concerns that were raised 15 years ago, 2012. There was a law called the Biggert Waters Act where we started to discover what could happen under a 50-year-old rating system, rates as high as $63,000 per year for a $250,000 home. And it created such a level of concern among the members that NAR, its board of directors, created an insurance committee, of which I have the privilege to be the staff executive of. And this committee has been working with FEMA almost, it feels like day to day, to update their 50-year-old pricing system, which was the reason why we saw such rates that were so out of whack with the pricing of the properties. The program 50 years ago needed a pricing system, and this was the best they could do. But when tested under 2012 conditions, you saw a lot of anomalies and difficult results. And so this committee has been working on that for the last 10 years now.
Well, thank you so much for your contribution. I mean, we definitely need this. Being from Boston, we have a massive coastline. I'm originally from Quincy, which is just south of Boston. And properties that we own, we basically have flood insurance for our properties. So how will the flood maps be changed, or who's going to be required to purchase flood insurance?
So that's a great question. So first, let me just separate out the two things. So one is, how does FEMA set its prices? How does it set its full risk rate? So a number of properties are subsidized under the 50-year-old system, but for those who are paying the actual full costs, new construction, properties who are never had flood insurance before, how do those prices get set? So that's Risk Rating 2.0. Completely separate from that is who is required to get flood insurance. For a federally related mortgage, lenders are required to enforce a requirement to purchase flood insurance in order to get that loan. So that's a completely separate process, completely separate program. So Rate 2.0 is just dealing with the prices. Everything else continues the same. The lenders will give a notification if you're required to get flood insurance. A reasonable period of time before closing, or you can transfer the existing policyholder's rate to the new policyholder. So that all continues. All that's changing is what is the full risk rate for new prices.
That's great news, because a lot of the properties I've recently sold basically have had that transfer, which has been great. And we've been able to grandfather in those affordable rates, which is phenomenal. So we're going to be having a lot of clients ask us about this. What's the best way to articulate this to them? Because it's a confusing subject matter, but it's extremely important to have this communicated correctly.
Oh, absolutely. So it's the good news is it's really no different than any other matter that the members deal with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, think about, for instance, when you're helping a client with a contract, right? You're not actually writing the contract. You have a template where you're filling in sort of the information. So it's the same thing with flood insurance. If you get questions, the best thing that you can do, one, give them the facts. It can flood anywhere. Wherever it rains, it can flood. That's really fundamental. I mean, I would hope that none of our members would ever say, hey, don't worry, you're never going to flood. You don't need flood insurance. So that's obviously something not to say. Second, you want to have a short list of flood insurance experts on call. So a licensed surveyor, an engineer, someone who can give you something called an elevation certificate, which is kind of a property-specific assessment of the flood risk to a property. It's kind of like a home inspector, but for flooding. Mm-hmm. And you also probably want to have, if you don't already have on speed dial, your local government floodplain manager. So you want to have a list of these people. So if a client comes to you and says, hey, what's the flood insurance rates going to be like? What's the cost going to be? You know what? That's a great question. Talk with your insurance agent. In fact, I've got 3 names of great agents I've worked with on flood insurance forever. Why don't you call one of them? So it would be the way you would interact with a client in any other area. It's the same thing on flood insurance.
Thank you so much. So GBAR we've been talking for several months now, and that was one little nugget that I took was wherever it rains, you could have a flood. So it's been interesting to talk to clients like that in that manner because, we can see a body of water within a close distance, and they're like, well, do you think I need flood insurance? I'm like, wherever it can rain, even though it's that, or if you're landlocked, you can still potentially have flood issues. But so again, thank you so much for that. Where do realtors go to learn more about this, and how do we get those experts like the floodplain manager and so forth? What are your recommendations for us on the ground and where we go?
Oh, absolutely. So NAR has created a whole page, and we've got talking points, mythbusters, legal guidance, everything you would want to know and everything you would not want to know about flood insurance. So that's one area. That's nar.realtor/flood insurance. It'll take you right there. Or you can just, Google it, NAR Realtor flood insurance, and it'll take you right to that page. Second, your staff here on the ground. You have fantastic staff. So, interacting with local board staff, state association staff. I would probably start with our resources online and then talk to the state, local association staff, and any questions they can't answer, they know my name, they know where to reach me.
Well, that is true. So a few months ago, we had one of the TV stations interview me about flood insurance and what we're doing. And Austin was gracious enough to help me and prep me for that, which we have phenomenal.
It was really easy.
So an NAR expert helping a realtor on the ground, which I really appreciate that. Austin, is there anything else that you can think of, or? I'm not sure.
Well, probably something the members need to know. When does this start?
Oh.
When does the new pricing system, risk rating 2.0 start? So it started October 1, first for new construction, properties that have never had flood insurance before. So they are under the new rating system. Second, the existing policyholders who would see a rate decrease for the first time under the new rating system, rates will go down for about 1 million property owners across the country. It's the first time rates have been going up and up consistently, 9 to 25% per year for as long as the system's been in place. So this is the very first time where rates are actually going to go down for a significant number of policyholders. So the existing policyholders that can take advantage of a lower rate under the new system can also come forward and voluntarily get rated under the new pricing system if it benefits them. They can also come forward, and if it doesn't benefit them, then they're not going to be required. They're going to get the most favorable rate, whatever the lowest rate is, new, old system. Then after April 1 of next year, existing policyholders, anyone who didn't come forward, anyone who can't take advantage of a lower rate, their first renewal after April 1 of next year. So if a policyholder got their flood insurance May 1 this year, for instance, May 1 of next year, they will be rated under the new system. So new policies started already. existing policies after April 1 on the renewal date next year.
Wow, that is phenomenal information. And I'm just thinking of myself going on to the NAR website, pulling that information and communicating with my clients, especially the ones that I know for a fact are going to be affected by this. Austin Perez, thank you so much. This was a phenomenal conversation. I hope our membership agrees, and appreciate it.
Thank you.